Hey there, how's it going? What is up, everybody? Irish Orangutan is back to pass along the knowledge to make the most of your Madden team. Today we are back to talk about the best defense no money can buy as we are looking at the defensive side of the ball. We'll have a little bit of the offense that we did already go over on Twitch to add in on the end. Looking here, Sean Taylor is the one holdover that has been strong and steady. He now is sadly only 92 speed. He has fallen victim to being the only Washington player that really was playing at all, so did get that slight downgrade as we did go more or less all in with the Titans to try to get our offensive weapons as high as possible. Derrick Henry, Corey Davis, and Andre the Giant Johnson are out absolutely playing like monsters, like the Titans, if they were all healthy, could potentially be doing now on the field. So just very excited about them and the largeness that we do have now on the field. All of them just being monsters. I think all being 6'3" as well. But at the free safety position, we now have lots of options. The other options we do have are better in coverage than the Sean Taylor. The ultimate kickoff card is now not active. I believe if you would have left it in, it may now be able to work, but with Most Feared and all those other cards coming in, it's just something you may want to look at playing with the newer players and getting that boost, especially with what we went over here earlier on Twitch, making your players so much taller or much faster. We can go over those potential cards at the very end also. I only now have one cornerback on the field. If we would have looked at this last week, I'm actually very surprised at all of the turnover that we have had here. Philip Buchanan and Patrick Surtain would have been out there as well, but now we have Jermaine Chin and Jesse Bates being the drop cornerbacks, and then Haynes being the guy who comes in and plays nickel or is the starter, and Chin is the last player in. Haynes actually has the best block shedding in the cornerback position. Need to look at Sean Taylor and see where his is at. They really didn't give that good of block shedding to players coming out at that time, but I remember him being pretty solid in the box as well. Awesome to see his number getting retired. Sad that they did it at this point in time with everything kind of going on. They did note that Darrell Green's number should be retired as well, and I'm sure they'll probably do that when the next controversy arises for the Snyder family. So sadly, that is the way they seem to be going about things, but hopefully things get turned around at some point. But with Chin, he comes being 6'3", so he kind of took the place of Surtain or Buchanan, and Bates is the other guy being 93 speed. Sadly, only 6'1", was looking to have all my corners at 6'2". Looking over here at Haynes, he's thankfully 6'2" as well, so I didn't have to be completely off with that. But he's ridiculous coverage-wise. He's been able to come up with quite a few plays at that number 2 cornerback spot, but definitely covering the side where they are running a lot of those bunch and floods too, so it'll do a tremendous job in those regards. Jason McCourty, someone who has tremendous coverage. Don't have his top end card quite yet, but someone that I am looking at potentially putting in different coverage situations if I am getting passed on a lot, and Jamal Adams potentially would be able to come out in that situation. Jamal Adams is kind of a jack of all trades and the odd man out at this point. Him and Divine Diablo have good skill sets to potentially be users, but aren't necessarily perfect as their speed's starting to get a little long in the tooth. Weird for a player that just came out with the last promo to be saying that, but Jamal Adams is not perfect in the box either, since his block shedding is so low. So it is something that I am contemplating putting him back at strong safety and having Chancellor in the box. I am playing Chancellor pretty much exclusively at that strong safety position. He's been doing great deep. and playing in the box at the safety as well. So just something that I am going to work through and trying to work in different players and figure out what we can exactly do, but really no bad answers, and we can even bring in Buchanan at this point. He did lose one speed, but he is a very solid man coverage player as well. On the defensive line, we have Montez Sweat, Tommy Harris, Jonathan Allen, and Gregory Rousseau. We have Jack Youngblood and Chase Young and Aaron Donald as potential backups that will come in. Taylor, I'm trying to keep off the field as much as possible with his speed. Aaron Donald is very, very solid at everything that he does, just kind of waiting for his next card, and he'll probably be my defensive tackle 1, to be honest. Tommy Harris has done a great job stopping the run with that inside stuff along with Rousseau. Something that I did want to note, the reason I'm playing safeties is because they have the man and zone to be able to get to 90 with my boost, and also they have hit power that is 87 plus. So just bringing out players that can stop you or potentially cause turnovers in lots of different situations, and just trying to give my offense as many opportunities as possible. With Gregory Rousseau, he is someone that I got with this last drop of Rising Stars, being 6'7", 88 speed, 91 block shed, and 92 power move. He is tremendous and another great run stopper. Him and Tommy Harris have the inside stuff. Do only have one rusher at this point, being Montez Sweat. Am contemplating putting edge threat over on Gregory Rousseau as well, but am a little bit up in the air on what I could potentially do. With Isaiah Simmons and Ted Hendricks, the reason I don't have another edge threat is because they are in the position where they do drop into coverage and are linebackers, so I have a lurker on both of them, so I don't feel as if they are hindered any way when I do drop them into coverage. Hendricks is probably out in coverage about 60% of the time compared to rushing, or actually probably closer to 40 with a lot of QB spies in there as well, with his height and speed as well, ability to pick off the ball and just nab the quarterback. Van Der Esch is a lot of fun with potentially using those different abilities in your strategy slots, making him a little bit faster or taller. Again, 90 overall and probably a little bit better skilled overall than JOK, but JOK is a tremendous asset at 90 speed to have on your team also, so just something to keep in mind there. The thing that I've really been trying to work towards is getting more block shed on the field, so can just kind of get off some of those things in running situations, but hasn't exactly worked out perfectly. As you can see, 84 and 82 for my middle linebackers. JOK only has 70 just with his speed. He's been in the game since the beginning of the year, so you can just see how outstanding he really is to still have that top end speed and be able to still be very viable at this point, but he is just starting to get outskilled by some other players, with Isaiah Simmons being 6'4" as well. Height is just one thing that I absolutely covet as well. Trying to have as few matchup problems as possible and just being able to run what you want instead of trying to dictate to what the offense is trying to maneuver your defense away from, and it just has allowed me to do pretty much anything that I want on defense, and I'm actually able to win games that way. Speed and height, and then after that go for their actual stats and overalls is kind of the best way to look at that. Looking at Derek Thomas, just wanted to look at him with some other outside linebackers I do have on my team. Arakpo was a Titan after playing for Washington, so actually a great fit for both of these teams as well. Does have 90 block shedding. Derek Thomas is 89. Carl Banks, another player who did take a hit because of the non-Washington theme team now has 86 speed, was in the Hendricks role during certain points of the year and actually did do a tremendous job. I honestly would recommends Carl Banks for pretty much everyone who wants this Ted Hendricks and can't afford him. He'll be able to do pretty much everything that he can, just may not be able to catch the ball quite as well as his one negative. Doesn't have 90 zone, isn't going to be quite as good, but he is someone that can do absolutely that role very, very well. Do run 3-3-5 odd as my main defense. If I'm having a lot of trouble stopping the run, do try to switch to 3-3-5 wide, but to be honest, I'm not as good running it as other people are trying to beat it, especially when they're trying to pass against it, to be honest. It does give a lot of good sheds, but I am just not as comfortable running that as 3-3-5 odds, so that's what I usually stick in. As I talked about, do have deep route specialist, and on the move for the offense, give us +1 to the wide receivers and all of the running backs. We have the man-to-man, sadly not coming with speed. We are going to be working towards those, and within the zone we have the +2 zone. So it's going to be very hard for me to remove either of these 4 cards, from these spots. Probably won't change on offense. On defense, we are going to try to get speed at some point, but it have to come with man-to-man or the zone. I have to keep those up where they are until players at least get a little bit better at those particular areas, as I have kind of checked out man and zone in the same category, and players that can get that high. Aaron Glenn is another player that can, and probably is starting to get a little bit less expensive. So just one player to keep in mind. He is very, very short, so that is a negative, especially if you're playing one of these guys with +20 height. You can go in and use these in head-to-head. Fox did a tremendous job going through how you can potentially do that. You can get +20 height, +10 catching, and +10 passing stats for all of your players with this. And for this particular one, you can get +10 to power and +5 to height. Use this one a couple of times. So for the power, that is for run blocking, trucking, things of that nature, break tackle, hit power, things like that. So offense and defense both get the boost. And the last and most valuable kind of cheating one is this scary speed. You can add +10 speed to any of your players that did have most feared. Again, these are all strictly for most feared players, but they will lose 4 inches. But all that speed really allows people to be a lot more dynamic, so definitely go speed, height, and then everything else after that, but speed is always first. That is more or less what we have, showing off the Titans theme team, and one quick wrap up of the offense before we get into that. We'll definitely be getting into more of what we are doing on defense and showing off more of that, but that is what we have for today. Thank you very much. But Derrick Henry, I absolutely adore the way that he plays. Do have the speed boost on him for all of my running backs. I believe all running backs, that may just be halfbacks. I think it's halfbacks, excuse me. And then also have the Titans theme team to have him up to 94 speed. Being 6'3" and being that really nasty, being able to break tackles and just truck people over, it really has given me an advantage, especially with the way I was trying to play offense. Andre Johnson, the other 94 overall player I now have on my team, without those spooky boost, up to 94 speed as well. Something that I saw on his card that made me get him when he was way too expensive for me to go out and get him was his 80 run blocking. So he run blocks better than all but the top 5 run blocking tight ends. Not even like all tight ends, but it's just remarkable that, because like Jared Cook, we go down to him. I don't know if he'll show up as run blocking. Again, not his top end card, but that's going to go up 10 to like 69, 74 maybe with his top end card. So having a wide receiver with 94 speed and that ability to run block and just set the edge for things is going to make my offense remarkably different as well. Deuce Staley, again, another great piece, 93 speed. he is someone that I'm going to continue to work with as well, but he just gets less touches. And him and Henry kind of have not necessarily swapped roles, but Deuce probably got 60%, and then Henry got 40%. Especially when I was passing, it would definitely go higher up to Deuce since I have backfield master on him. With Henry, I don't want to say them incorrectly. I was trying to go over this earlier as well. And do need to redo Corey Davis here real quick. He has Bulldozer and Tank. So with Bulldozer, he has more powerful truck animations, and with Tank, he breaks hit stick tackles. So when people try to hit him high, no longer has that slim chance of having that fumble, which I did have recently, which was a huge bummer in my last playoff game that I lost. So that really eliminates that, and then just gives him a huge boost to his running ability and speed. The thing that I have noticed the most with him, to be honest, besides the breakaway speed and just the ability to outrun everyone now, but he's now not clumsy in the backfield. He used to have an issue where you would almost unintentionally take those hesitation steps like Le'Veon Bell would, and sometimes that was a good thing, but it wasn't always. So when it would happen and you really didn't want it to, it made him sometimes trip over linemen, or a lot of the times that was my fault, to be fair, but just allowed him to do things that were just a little bit different. And now he's just absolutely the best running back in the game. If he's not going to be doing that for your team and being your number one running back, he should at least be there for goal line situations. And also, him being tiny with 99 speed is absolutely ridiculous. It's like having Barry Sanders at this point in the game. So that's a whole nother thing, but that's a lot of fun as well. Corey Davis, my number 2 wide receiver now, has the run blocking. Jerry wasn't terrible. He's a little bit better. Jerry is now going to be my wide receiver that comes in and plays outside when I go to 3 wide receiver sets. Andre's going to go down and play in the slot. Did have Kittle there for a very, very brief period of time. Did not do great. Do need more speed there. Colston was someone that I quick sold. Was a little bit sad that I did when I did it, especially as quickly as I did, but did allow me to get Andre Johnson all the way powered up, and just having that much more powerful of a player potentially on my team. Andre has all of the stats that you potentially want at wide receiver, and then he blocks like a tight end. He's better than Jerry Rice at those things, and he trucks and break tackles at the same skill level as Derrick Henry right now. So I technically have 2 Derrick Henrys in my backfield with Andre Johnson as well. But I need to figure out how to get him the ball a little bit more in those situations, but it will be coming. Wide receiver screens, jet sweeps, things like that. So just very excited to see what he can potentially do with the ball in his hands. Has tremendous carrying as well. Did notice that Jerry was starting to get a little bit light there. Corey is pretty solid in that regard. Can truck a little bit, and just very excited about what he can potentially do. John Hanna, I'm still trying to decide if Shaq or him are actually better at what they do. He's in position, 90 overall, does a really good job, brings a little bit more meat, but he just is not able to pull quite as quick as Hanna is. So just one of those things that you have to think between. And Larry Allen now fits on the team really, really well. Do not have him yet powered up. Was going to do that before we went all in trying to get Andre Johnson onto the team. Conklin now fits onto the Titans theme team, so that's kind of a good fit as well. And he's a little bit faster, so he could even go in and play that guard position really well. So I do have a lot of options there, but my right guard, again, is my weakest position. Left guard has got juiced, so what I didn't see as a weakness is now stronger, and the player that I didn't necessarily see as a weakness is on the bench, and Shaq is playing just as well, if not better, but that may just be because Henry is that much better, and now we have some wide receiving threats that other people need to worry about as well.